All right, everybody, let's roll. Welcome to AZ Wordsmith's Stories That Matter. For those of you who don't know, this is Badass and Brilliant. This is our 2-year anniversary. Why are stories important? And I'm going to roll through this because this is a lot for me to memorize and I didn't do it well. Stories foster compassion and understanding. They help people appreciate the complexities of the human condition, I think. And they recognize the shared humanity that we all have. Stories convey our sense of right and wrong and our organizational culture, the expectations we set for ourselves and others that we know. Stories shape our worldviews, our concerns, our fascinations, and our lives in general. Reynolds Price once said, our need to tell and hear stories is essential. Stories are second in necessity after nourishment, before love and shelter. We can survive without love or home, but rarely in silence. Okay, we got Mark McCaffrey. Mark McCaffrey. Oh, there he is right there.
It's a family connection. I just want to start before you hit that timer and say thanks to my sister and Steve. Okay, I'm visiting from LA. Okay. Introibat altari Dei. What you just heard was the opening of a traditional Catholic Mass in Latin. That was the priest, for starters. He says, I will go, in Latin, he says, I will go unto the altar of God. And the altar boy says, to God who is the joy of my youth, and that was me. 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, 13 years old, until I outgrew it. Went through the Catholic school system, into high school, into college. In college, I sort of majored in Spanish. I went to Spain. I came back, kind of a hybrid beginning, kind of a Spanish hybrid kind of guy. Got myself a master's, got myself a doctoral degree. I'm a doctor now. This means that if you have a heart attack on an airplane, I can read Cervantes to you. Okay? Okay? In the original Spanish and nicely. Or I can suit the literature to what I think you may need, because I'm a doctor. But now I'm an academic. I'm a professor of Spanish now, teaching young people the same dialogues I learned, or similar dialogues that I learned in the language lab long ago. Hola Paco, hola Ricardo, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien. ¿De dónde vienes? De mi clase de biología. Qué interesante. Hasta luego, hasta luego. This is riveting stuff. Okay. Hi Ricardo, hi Jaime. How are you doing? Fine. Where are you coming from? My biology class. That's interesting. See you later. See you later. Okay. But I was teaching, and at about the 3rd year in academia, I started convincing myself, and I had to use a certain amount of, not exactly false information, but I had to really bias the information to convince myself that I had never really had a real life. I'd always been a schoolboy. I mean, I always just studied, and I always just did pop quizzes and midterm exams and final exams and grades, and got farther and farther in college. But I hadn't really experienced life yet. There's a little bit of bullshit in here. I had lived alone in Barcelona. I'd had an education on an island in the Mediterranean. I'd been a pilgrim going across northern Spain. I'd worked in the car factories in Detroit. All that altar boy stuff happened in Detroit suburbs, even in a chapel in the Pines. And yet somehow I felt, okay, I'm going to leave academia. What am I going to do with the Spanish? And I went into the criminal courts as a court interpreter, Los Angeles Superior. Oh yeah. And I was kind of hot stuff, I thought. I'm rocking the Spanish, right, left, and center. I'm in the criminal courts now. I'm going to do the world some good, too. I'm going to get the satisfaction moment to moment. What is a court interpreter? This is a dispassionate, facilitator of communication between two people who don't share a common language. Key word is dispassionate. Dispassionate. We do not get involved. We have no investment of any kind in the outcome of the case, in the emotions of the stakeholders. We are dispassionate. We are simply conduits of language, and we step back after the case is done. I call us pipelines. And I maintain that objectivity. It's a part of our ethics code anyway throughout these 27 years, but that pipeline a number of times has almost cracked. And I'm going to share a couple cases with you where it almost cracked. And the first one happened in the aughts. I was maybe 2 years into the job, about 02, in there somewhere. And I want you to picture a town called Irwindale, California, about 30 miles outside of downtown LA going east. And picture one of those bars. I'm sure none of you have ever been into, kind of dimly lit with the Budweiser sign backlit and the, oh, come on, you haven't. And so, and the Naugahyde booths are kind of cracked with the stuffing, maybe just a little bit of it coming out, and the knockoff Tiffany lamps. Can anybody relate to any? Okay. So this fellow named, I'll call him, I don't remember his name, we'll call him a nice borderland Mexican name, Romualdo Benavides. He comes in and he sits down near the bar where there's the barmaid is tending bar. I call the barmaid, it's an old-fashioned, where the lady's tending bar. And he's listening to a couple guys talk to her. This turns out this is his girlfriend, and he doesn't like the way they're talking to her. He considers it kind of trashy the way they're talking to her. And it turns out they were from her neighborhood. They knew her. He didn't know this. He really didn't like the way they were talking. And when they left the bar, he walked out into the parking lot, took out his revolver, and he emptied it on them, 3 shots each. And he killed one, and he left the other for dead, but the other one wasn't dead, but it didn't matter because the police found him anyway. It was easy to catch him, even though he was a very fit guy. And they took him downtown. And in the jail, in the sheriff's office, he asks for the lady to come. Can she please come? And when she comes, the bartender. And we have this on video, and I'm in the courtroom interpreting this for the jury, what's being said in the video. He pours his heart out to her. He kneels down. I did this for you. Si todo lo hice por ti, mi amor, si yo no quería soportar que esta gente... I couldn't stand these kind of people talking to you like that. You're my love. You're my lady. You're carrying my baby. I can't stand this. I had to do what I did, and I did it for you. And I'm thinking, I was liking this guy a little bit, and I'm saying, Romualdo, man, this is degraded chivalry. This is not right, man. Couldn't you have just like maybe fixed her roof for her and fallen off and broken your leg or something? You know, and then when she would come to you at the hospital, there you would be, and you could have said all those things and it would have been true. You say, I would even break my other leg for you, my darling. Romualdo was probably an old man by now. This was 02. And the second time the pipe almost, what I just described to you is what I was thinking inside as I'm interpreting dispassionately and objectively for the jury. Okay. Second one is a little fresher in my memory, a little more recent. A few years ago in Alexandria, East Alexandria, Virginia, I was hired to do a gangland murder trial. 5 defendants, young men, handsome men. Now their lawyers had them all dressed up in suits, and they looked very good, and their hair had grown, and they looked really like handsome young men. And what had happened was they had joined a gang, and they were told by the shot caller in a horrible prison in El Salvador that if they really wanted to rise in the gang and prove their manhood, that they should do something very bad. And he explained to them there was a young boy who they could lure to a place. Yeah, and they could lure him to a place, and they all had their knives, and I don't have to explain the rest. It was the most horrific thing I've ever interpreted for. And every morning coming into court, these boys, the judge's bench is here, and over here is a window just like that one, even bigger, and the court clerk, before the judge ever comes out, she presses a button here on the side, and the curtain electronically goes up, and the sunlight of Virginia floods in the courtroom. There's a big tree out there, and it's very beautiful, and these boys' heads all turn, and they look out that window, and I'm like, this is getting to me. The pipeline is going to break. they know they're not going out there for a long, long time. And I'm interpreting for them, and I'm listening, and their attorneys are these very eloquent. I mean, it's as if Martin Luther King and Clarence Darrow had come back from the grave to speak for these boys, and they're speaking beautifully, and I'm interpreting it well because I've been to school, and I mean, I've been to Spain, and I'm saying, thank you, Spain, thank you, Argentina, thank you, Chile, thank you, Mexico, you gave me all this wonderful Spanish, and now I can do this. These boys don't care. I'm interpreting for them, you understand? They don't care, but I have to do it. And all I can think of is that in the case of Romualdo Benavides from borderland Mexico, this was all man and no boy. This was a man who believed that what a man has to do is go kill a guy who's talking away to his lady that he doesn't like her talking to, so he's got to go kill him. And these boys, on the other hand, are all boy and no men. They had no Sister Martin Mary like I did, organizing their little cassocks so they could be good altar boys and telling, okay, Marky, this week you ring the bell and give communion, and your partner will light the candles and snuff out the candles and take the cruets and pour the water and the wine, and then next week, whatever, and they had no Coach O'Connor saying, if you want to play soccer in 8th grade, you better learn to handle that ball a little better, and you've got a real gift for something, let's bring you along. No, these boys were boys lost in an Anglo world, and they were easy prey for the gangbangers. So I just wanted to share for you the difference between the dispassionate facilitator of communication between two people who don't share a common language and what's going on inside the pipeline sometimes. And man, it almost burst. Thank you.
That was amazing. I read somewhere a long, long time ago that it had related to kids that are in gangs and why some of the violence and things, because they grow up in poverty and they don't have, and the lack of education. And when you don't have things, what you do have has an outside importance. So if somebody disses your sneakers or talks smack to your girl, it has, the reaction is overwhelmingly negative, and a lot of the violence happens because of that. But I want to let you know, Mark drove from California to tell the story here today. And he actually lives currently in Cuernavaca. Say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, with his wife Edie, and just I believe he mentioned this, but he is Lee's brother. So just one of the large McCaffrey family. There was a bunch of them. Anyways, he wanted to be a sports writer, actually, when he was growing up. I guess he took a little bit of a detour there. And Chevy Chase would be his choice to actually play him in his movie about himself. And for his epitaph, I ended up right where everybody else does. So there you go. Thank you, Mark. A couple of quotes. What we think or what we know or what we believe is in the end of little consequence. The only thing of consequence is what we do. Okay, that was from John Ruskin. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a safe and happy holiday season, and be careful.